FIFA World Cup 2026 groups explained. How the draw really works. The FIFA World Cup is finally here. 48 nations, 3 host countries, 12 groups, and millions of fans asking the same question. How exactly were these groups created? Did FIFA simply draw names from a hat? Why did some countries avoid playing each other? How did powerhouse nations like Argentina, France, Brazil, England, Spain, and Germany end up in different groups? And why are some groups called the group of death while others seem easier on paper? Today, we are breaking down exactly how the FIFA World Cup 2026 groups were formed, how teams were selected, how the draw worked, and what every fan should know before the tournament begins. For decades, the World Cup featured 32 teams. Those teams were divided into 8 groups of 4. But FIFA expanded the tournament for 2026. Now there are 48 nations competing. The tournament consists of 12 groups, each containing 4 teams. The top 2 teams from every group automatically advance to the knockout stage. In addition, the 8 best third-place teams also move on. This means more countries have a chance to participate. New nations can make history. Fans get more matches than ever before. But with 48 teams participating, FIFA needed a fair way to organize the draw. That's where the seeding system comes in. Before FIFA creates the World Cup groups, every qualified team is organized according to strength. But strength is not based on popularity. It is not based on how famous the players are. And it is not based only on how many World Cups a country has won. Instead, FIFA mainly uses the FIFA Men's World Ranking. This ranking evaluates how national teams perform over time. A team moves higher when it wins matches consistently, when it defeats strong opponents, when it performs well in major tournaments, when it succeeds in continental competitions, and when it avoids losing to lower-ranked teams. So when we say a team is highly ranked, we mean it has been performing well against strong competition for a long period of time. These are usually countries like Argentina, France, Brazil, England, Spain, Germany, Portugal, and the Netherlands. They are often placed in the highest pot because FIFA wants to separate the strongest teams during the draw. That way, Brazil, Argentina, France, and England do not all end up in the same group. The next strongest teams are still extremely competitive. They may not be ranked among the very top nations, but they are dangerous opponents. These teams often have strong players, excellent coaching, and recent tournament success. Examples may include countries like Croatia, Uruguay, Colombia, Switzerland, Morocco, Japan, or Senegal. They may not always be favorites to win the tournament, but they are capable of defeating anyone on the right day. Then come the mid-ranked teams. These are nations that are solid but less consistent. They may qualify regularly but do not always go deep into major tournaments. They often have a few star players but not the same overall depth as the biggest football powers. These teams are often responsible for major surprises. They can steal points, upset favorites, and completely change the outcome of a group. Finally, there are the lower-ranked teams. That does not mean they are weak. It simply means they are ranked lower compared to the other qualified World Cup teams. Some come from smaller football nations. Some have less World Cup experience. Some have fewer players competing in Europe's biggest leagues. Others may have qualified through playoffs or are making their first ever World Cup appearance. But this is what makes the World Cup special. A lower-ranked team can still shock the world. One victory can change everything. One goal can make history. So the ranking pots are not about deciding who deserves to be there. Every team earned its place. The pots are simply FIFA's way of organizing teams so that the groups are balanced and competitive. Once FIFA has determined the rankings, the qualified teams are divided into 4 different pots. Pot 1 contains the strongest nations. This includes the host countries and the highest-ranked teams in the world. Each group receives exactly 1 Pot 1 team. Pot 2 contains the next strongest collection of nations. Pot 3 contains the mid-ranked teams. Pot 4 contains the lowest-ranked qualified teams and playoff winners. The goal is simple. Each group receives 1 team from Pot 1, 1 team from Pot 2, 1 team from Pot 3, and 1 team from Pot 4. This creates a balanced starting point for every group. Now let's look at how the draw itself works. Imagine 12 empty boxes. Groups A through L. FIFA begins with Pot 1. 1 team is drawn and assigned to a group. Then another team is drawn and assigned to the next group. The process continues until every group has its top seed. Once Pot 1 is complete, FIFA moves to Pot 2. A team is selected from the bowl. FIFA then determines which groups that team can legally enter. The process continues through Pot 3 and Pot 4. By the end of the ceremony, each group contains 4 nations. The entire event is conducted live during the World Cup draw ceremony. Millions of fans watch around the world as the tournament begins to take shape. Sometimes supporters celebrate. Sometimes they panic, because a single ball can completely change a nation's path through the tournament. But the draw is not entirely random. FIFA applies several important geographic rules. The football world is divided into 6 confederations. UEFA represents Europe. CONMEBOL represents South America. CONCACAF represents North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. CAF represents Africa. AFC represents Asia. And OFC represents Oceania. FIFA tries to prevent countries from the same confederation from ending up in the same group. For example, Brazil and Argentina cannot be placed together. The United States and Canada cannot be together. Japan and South Korea cannot be together. Egypt and Morocco cannot be together. The goal is to create international diversity and ensure that the World Cup truly feels global. There is one important exception: Europe. Because Europe sends many more teams than any other confederation, FIFA allows some groups to contain 2 UEFA nations, but never more than 2. If a group already contains 2 European teams, a third European team cannot be placed there. This rule helps FIFA balance the draw while still maintaining global representation. Even with all these rules, not every group ends up equally difficult. Sometimes rankings can be misleading. A nation may be ranked lower but possess incredible talent. Another team may be ranked higher but struggle in major tournaments. This creates what fans often call the group of death. A group of death is a group containing multiple strong teams that all have a realistic chance of advancing. Historically, these groups produce some of the tournament's most dramatic moments: last-minute goals, historic upsets, heartbreaking eliminations, and unforgettable matches. Meanwhile, some groups may appear easier on paper, but every World Cup reminds us that football is unpredictable. Every tournament creates a Cinderella story. Every tournament creates a giant killer. And every tournament proves that rankings are only part of the story. The group letter itself is also extremely important. It doesn't simply organize the teams. It determines their entire pathway through the tournament. For example, the winner of Group A may face the runner-up from another group in a round of 32. The winner of Group C may receive a completely different route through the knockout stage. Finishing first instead of second can dramatically change a team's chances. A nation might avoid a defending champion, or it might face one much earlier than expected. That's why every point matters. Every goal matters. And even goal difference can determine who advances. Sometimes the difference between first and second place comes down to a single goal scored weeks earlier. From there, the tournament enters the knockout stage. This is where the pressure reaches another level. Unlike the group stage, there are no second chances. Lose, and you're going home. Win, and you continue your journey toward football immortality. The knockout rounds begin with the round of 32. Then come the round of 16, the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and finally, the biggest match in world football, the FIFA World Cup final. Every step becomes more difficult. Every opponent becomes stronger. And every mistake becomes more costly. So that's how the FIFA World Cup 2026 groups are formed. First, teams qualify through their confederations. Then FIFA rankings determine the seeding pots. The draw places one team from each pot into every group. Confederation rules prevent most regional matchups. And the final groups determine each nation's pathway toward the knockout rounds. The draw may appear simple, but behind every group is a carefully designed system meant to create fairness, balance, excitement, and unforgettable drama. Now that you know how the process works, one question remains. Which group do you think will be the toughest? Which underdog nation could shock the world? And which country will lift football's greatest prize in the summer of 2026? The road to the World Cup trophy begins with the draw. And from that moment on, history is waiting to be written.